Here we are again, back at it. And pulled over the cheese from the last sketch. But I was feeling a little ambient on this day, so I thought maybe we would just try something in that vein. Let me just space this thing out. Add an EQ8 to muffle it a little bit. It's very breathy. Pretty much add reverb and turn anything into an ambient something or the other. I had this idea when I was half asleep in the morning. I lay there sometimes, and brain is working, but the body is not quite caught up. And I want to see if I can get this idea out of my brain. That is always a challenge, and usually I never succeed 100%. I mean, to some degree, I'll get something out that will be decent or interesting, and that in and of itself is a succeed, but at any rate, it's at least a good starting point, and that's kind of really important to have. It's not easy to have a starting point and an end point. It's not simple, but also it's not easy to have a middle point. And and it answers as far as where should I go at this point. So we've got 5 here. Let's make this 10. And I want to see if we can pull up the amount of pitch bend that we have. Would it be under here, maybe? Pitch envelopes? We're under pitch bend range, so we've got 2 to 12. Yeah, that's 2 to 12. 12 should do it for this idea. Now we need to find a few ranges here. And definitely got to get a little more tail on this, and some I think sculpting the right types of pitch bending is going to be really important. So let me have this one go up. We need a little variety. And this one will go back down. I'm going to go ahead and keep this at 5. And same with this one. We'll just make a few of these. Some go up and some go down. It's too fast. Need a bit more finesse in that one. Maybe it bounces a little bit. And let's try another one of these. So just to prototype out the idea, I'm going to just only have these 5 here. And what I need to do, I'll go ahead and delete this. And give myself, let's just make this 5. And I want to send MIDI from this into right into the analog, except we have these notes also. So I want to try to see if I can block those notes. Let's just turn that speaker off. Maybe it will let through the pitch bend data. But maybe not. So I think I need to start these at the same time. Okay, so I'll turn this node off. Looks like we definitely have something coming through here. What, this speaker... maybe if we keep the speaker on, but we just filter out the notes all the way up here. No, I'm not going to be using this note. Sweet. So, okay, so I don't need to go through and turn off all these notes in all these clips. Good to know. I wasn't sure how MIDI Effect Rex handled MIDI CC stuff. I wish we had more MIDI CC types of effects in here. I guess that's what Max for Live is for. But and every 5 we'll have it switch to another one. So we'll call this pitch bend PP1. So it seems like maybe these are off a little bit. We've got 5 and these are set to 5, 5. So yeah, let me... these are not set all the same. Some of these are not like the other. And other. Okay, so that was the problem there. Let's add the same effect rack here. Oh, we've already got one. I duplicated that. I should have remembered that. Now I'm curious what will happen if we... Yeah, we get a little bit of interference there. Let's see, we'll make these 4. Cool, so we have pitch bend data coming from here, and they're both sort of overlapping and fighting here. I'm at least curious what these two will do together, and I'm not so set that I want both. This is all just an experiment. Yeah, definitely getting some weird anomalies with these 2 pitch bends going on at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got modulation time. I'm actually really curious. Oh, the rate is what does it. Okay, cool. So let's try this one. I wanted to get 2 of these kind of going. Maybe we'll group the whole thing. Dueling oscillator. All right, and we definitely got to get these running through some effects. Dual os effects. Using our trusty gate sidechain audition trick. So these look like they're firing off at the same time. I kind of want them to be a little delayed. We could actually add a delay and just use it as an audio delay. Well, I guess that'll do. And let's do a sync of 16. Take the feedback off. Let's turn our filter off. So now these are kind of going back and forth a little bit. Set this to send only. And audition that. Wait, this is the wrong one. Yeesh. There we go, this one. And what the filter. Let's go ahead and just add this into our dueling oscillator. And take the reverb. And maybe we'll pull the carrier from dueling oscillator effects. Could be disastrous. Well, that's sort of similar to what the idea that I had in my head. That the second pitch bend conflicting with the first idea, that I had not thought of until just now. But it's kind of interesting. Almost sounds like the soundtrack to some sci-fi film when they're approaching the downed ship that's sending a distress signal that, you know, I'm thinking like Alien. Kind of spooky, and maybe we want to pan these two or add a bit of a auto pan. Oh, whoops, put it on the wrong one. Now let's pan this one to the right. And maybe we need to get our second oscillator in there. So a little bit of noise. Let's see what kind of LFOs we have here. Maybe they'll give us a few more options other than... Okay, we've got noise 1 and noise 2. Okay, noise 2 looks promising. Okay, it's like a smooth random. Now let's make our filter modulated by that. And definitely got to get the rate down on that one. And the same goes for this one. And gotta get that sub in there. Yep, we got... Let's try a square. Cool. Bitchin'. So I'm gonna just have a bit of a oscillation, if you will, of the different oscillators. It's essentially, yeah, this could be disastrous. I feel like we might have too much noise happening. Cool. Now, what can we run all this fun stuff through? Did want to just try out this audio effect rack, the Nasterizer we have made earlier. I feel like I want to bring in the bacon sound we were messing with the last sketch. Get some of that sweet action crispiness. And I think we're going to have to adjust a few things. Like this gate, I don't think we need that anymore. Oh, we gotta switch it up a little bit. We definitely maybe just need a high pass. I don't think we needed the delay. That was a part of the rhythm structure, and I'm not sure why we have two of these in a row, but who knows? When you're in the throes of creating, sometimes you just throw things in there unknowingly, unwittingly. Now let's hear what we get when we do fifths. Do minus on this one. I somehow hit stop. Okay, let's try a little pitch shifting on these. Let's go an octave down. I might actually just need to play around with this octave here. And maybe our MIDI note probability gate rack here. Very synthy. I mean, definitely fitting with the sci-fi visuals we have going on. Like this is like the surface of Neptune or Venus or something. And with this delay effect, it's definitely making the operator sound a bit like tension, the instrument over here, which has a beautiful, beautiful behavior to it. Let me pull up this low pass and see what we end up with. Wow, yeah. Really just must have been an interaction with this nasterizer thing just to knock the socks off of that limiter. Okay, so this is all good and well. I think it might be time to try to drop in something a little new, but I really have no clue what that should be. Let's go into the Max MIDI instruments and let's pull out our simple echo. Oh, wow, yeah. That's, sorry about that. Jeez. Where is that coming from? And I think I know it's coming from here. We've got too much feedback happening. Let me just go ahead and change this to no inputs. Yeah, feedback out of nowhere, out of left field. And everything was just sounding fine. That's just how feedback can be sometimes. Super unpredictable. Next thing you know, you got your eardrums blown out. Wow, this has got some super 80s soundtrack. John Carpenter sci-fi. I have to take this here envelope down a little. Sometimes you just got to go there. You got to really go for the deep nostalgia. Honestly, I like that kind of old hauntological, lo-fi, cheesy sound. It can be really soothing and comforting in a weird way. So I need to record some of this stuff coming out of the simple echo like we had done last time. So I will group that. And bless you for keeping my notes in that delay there as I'm regrouping and such. So yeah, it's nice to have this sort of almost slightly ominous but pretty loopy melody while you have all this creepy weird stuff happening at the same time. It's an interesting juxtaposition. Where am I going? I have lost my way. Sometimes it happens. Especially when trying to talk and do this stuff at the same time. Not super easy. Some people are really good at it, but I am apparently not one of those. Alright, so let's record a little bit of this. 11 analog, and we want... Oh, no, we need to take MIDI from... let's go ahead and not create a MIDI feedback loop. So we'll bring this from 11 analog. It's looking like post mixer, post effects. Sure, that'll do. Seeing it happen here. Yeah, we'll add a random velocity after this. Let's check it out. Yeah, getting a lot of. Oh, and that's cool. The MIDI delay is recording the length of the notes also. And we're getting a little bit of randomness here from our MIDI probability gate. Alright, we should be good and just hear a little bit. Let me just pull that over here and turn the simple echo off. And we'll leave this MIDI note probability gate on just for good measure. And we definitely got to get a little spread on here. Something to add a little stereo to this. In fact, I think just maybe even a delay will work fine. We unlink the sides. So we don't need to pull sound from that anymore, so we'll just say no input. Do we do this right? Should have a record button on here. Oh, no input. That's gonna do it. Ourselves a little string. It's a lot of analog going on in one set, so you know, but for sketch purposes, obviously not a big deal. If I was really wanting to try to take this thing somewhere, you know, that I felt was unique and original, I'd be having a lot of different instrument types versus just all using the analog. And I've heard some beautiful music that was done with, you know, just the analog. And let's go ahead and unlink the automation here so it's not happening the same way every time the notes loop back around. We'll call this high string. And this is our loopy rhythm. If we wanted to add some action to the mix, I think pretty easily we could do the old arpeggiation pulse clock trick. We'll call this pulse clock. Doesn't sound like a pulse or a clock. So we'll get that in there. We'll get this in there. You know, not the most inspiring of sounds, but it's certainly very useful for a lot of cases. I mean, of course, the old film score or like hauntological style synth track. Very easy to track out. This is one of those pieces that you could sort of build things up almost in the way that we created them, the order that we created them. Obviously, you don't have to do that, wouldn't have to, but that would be an easy first approach, I think. I'm always thinking about ways of how can these clips be organized together, composed, what order, you know, should they be composed in. It's not a bad idea, I guess, to be thinking in those lines. You know, if you are a serious musician or composer, at some point you have to start thinking about the arrangement and what order things need to go in the final for the final, you know, layout and ergo release. Some composers believe that, you know, it should all be pretty generative and you shouldn't have to really, you know, come over here to the timeline and arrange things. You just hit record in here. I have a plugin that I like to use for that kind of stuff. It's not even on this laptop. I really do need to populate a lot of plugins from my other machines onto this laptop. But it's called Tape It, and essentially you just drop it here and start recording. I guess Reactor also has a built-in record functionality. Of course, if you don't already have, you know, something to load in, it will, you know, just basically give you an empty sesh. And you have to go hook that up. I should set this as the default, really. But we've got this option here in Reactor. Although not everybody has Reactor, I would have to say if you want to do serious music inside the box, on the computer in other words, having Reactor is, I feel like that's one of the first plugins anybody should buy, because not only can you build anything you could think of, granted the learning curve is kind of intense and steep and scary at first with Reactor, but you have access immediately when you buy it, and I sound like a salesman for it, but it is truly like one of the best plugins that was ever created. You have access to the this user library, and it's just like thousands upon thousands of stuff that other people have built. You can download and use for free, and I think just about every song I've done has some form of Reactor in it. It is so inspiring and just in almost limitless. I mean, there's a few things it doesn't do very well. It doesn't do spectral FFT type effects. It can, but they're not. It's not very efficient. It tends to use a ton of CPU, but it can also sound really amazing. Some of the new blocks. We will definitely get into Reactor at some point. I'm just having so much fun exploring myself the built-in Ableton stuff, which in and of itself, there's just an endless world, especially with Max for Live. Forget it. You almost don't even need other plugins at that point. But if you really want to have a unique sound, you really do have to sort of invest in, and granted, there's a ton of free plugins out there, but you know, some of the best ones really you got to invest in. Like Melda plugins are really quite impressive, and they have a lot of range in terms of sound designs. Audio Thing are great. I love Audio Thing. Fuse, Audio Lab make really nice analog sounding stuff. Of course, all the Native Instrument stuff, all the Isotope stuff. I mean, I could go on and on about plugins. I'm a junkie. Granted, there's a ton of amazing free plugins out there also, but you know, in the on the train of thought of just trying to have an original sound, I hate to say it, but if you just stick with the Ableton effects and instruments, you're going to sound like a lot of people out there, because Ableton being used as widely as it is, a lot of people are relying on these, and they do have a specific sound. Every plugin has got its own unique character. A lot of them are terrible. Some are amazing. Everything in between. I love using Ableton's effects kind of as a starting point, but really I believe you got to start adding in third-party stuff to really get a unique sound, your sound. You can see here, obviously, the ones I keep in my, you know, right in the root, in the out in the open here are the ones I love the most, that I've been using the most as of recent for sound design and whatnot. And you know, some combination of all these plus, well, I don't even have I have a fraction of the plugins on this machine. I think sometime I'm gonna have to start building some of these sketches with just nothing but third-party plugins, and unfortunately that will mean these sketches will be unavailable to, you know, a lot of people won't be able to run them properly because of not having all the plugins or whatever. But cool. I like what's happening here. I want to pull these in here and let them also be able to be. Let's see if we can get him to snap in there. And just to give it a little bit of a sounding super new agey, which honestly, this is very, very similar to, in some ways, the first ambient music I was ever listening to back in the 90s. I remember buying this CD at Best Buy here in the United States. It was called the Barramundi Ambient Sampler. I think it was volume 2 was the first one I got, and there are some really cheesy but gorgeous 90s ambient, you know, just kind of almost new agey in some ways, but pretty simple, you know, using a lot of basic synths or sampler type stuff to make these songs with. But I was just so enamored with this CD. Probably listened to that thing dozens and dozens of times. Still have it. Never got rid of it. Thankfully, I still have all the seminal CDs from my youth. Yeah, I almost want to pull down the high end on these two analogs now and just kind of let everything in this piece be a little more murky. And maybe we need a little more reverb and perhaps a delay. Yeah, this kind of sound I feel like is really nice and could almost go on for a good 5-6 minutes but on its own, just fade it in and fade it out. There is that level of lazy composition, but I do think for ambient music and drone that is a pretty sometimes solid approach. If you really have a good generative bunch of things kind of interweaving with each other and interworking, then yeah, why not just sort of let it start or fade it in and then let it fade out at some point. I do like this sort of eeriness that this cheese adds in. Cheese layer. It's a little off the scale, but it keeps things from being too obvious. Yeah, I think we lost our pulse clock. And that's okay. Maybe we didn't really need a beat in this. So we've done enough beat stuff more or less recently, so. All right, I like it. It's pretty, it's simple. It didn't need to be, you know, ambient music is a good fine line between lazy and simple and now I'm hearing that. I really love using the simple echo to create. Cool, and we could sort of fade between this murky smeariness by just, you know, wet and dry on the grain delay. And guaranteed if we render this thing out at 192, we're going to get a much better sound than what we're hearing right now. This is a good, like, if you're performing this live, this kind of sound, this, you know, digitally gritty that you often get from a pitch down grain delay is, you know, it's okay. Because we're not using a bunch of CPU at all. I mean, we could, with this laptop, I could be doing a live, you know, video as well as audio thing at the same time, which is, for me and how I like to perform live when I used to perform live, that was the way to go. Get that video and that audio going together. I wanted to get our grain delay. Yeah. We had made this special rack. Might as well use it. Let's go ahead and delete this one. So yeah. Yeah, maybe we want the delay in. Could even start the song out like this, very murky, very simple, and then sort of pull down this effect over a period of a couple minutes and let the pulses of the rhythms come in. I would also want to fade up this bacon as we're pulling this down. I think that's how I would propose it. Maybe pull this back up and just kind of have it vacillate between cool. Well, you know, there's something there for sure, but as far as sketches go, I'd say it's pretty worthy, and I'm happy with it. You know, it's not an amazing piece by any chance, but it's also not terrible. So certainly a lot to think about, and you know, we could obviously come back to this some other time and transform it into something completely different. But regardless, it was fun to have this idea happen and come, you know, in early morning while in the sort of between waking and getting up state, lying in bed, just having some ideas, hearing a thing and trying to work it out in my head. Of course, this turned out, you know, nothing quite like what I was thinking. This is a little weirder, but you know, I could explore it further, you know, try to redo, maybe, you know, not have this second pitch bend. So, you know, it would just take a little experimentation, but I think I could even make it a little more interesting than it is, but maybe next time. So until then, we'll talk soon. Happy sketching.